Hi, nice to meet you.
Hi, nice to meet you too.
My name is Arian. I'm going to be doing this interview for you today. Thank you so much for agreeing.
Yeah, no problem. Anything, to help out someone with theirs.
Well, thank you very much. Why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself to get this started?
All right. My name is Marianne. I'm 23. I live in Tempe. I work in Scottsdale at a resort, and I have a twin. And I am trying to figure out what I'm doing with my life still.
Aren't we all? Well, that's awesome. Having a twin is definitely different. Not everyone has that opportunity. What was that like growing up, if you don't mind me asking?
It was fun. We fought a lot, but it was nice being able to go to school and have someone with me all the time. First day of school, maybe in kindergarten, it was scary starting, but I specifically remember this day too. I was happy that I had my sister there with me, so I didn't have to walk into this playground with my not with my friends yet, but with all these people I didn't know. I had a friend already, so it was nice.
That's so nice.
Yeah, and after that, you always have a companion. You always have someone to go into things with. And she was a girl, so that made things better.
Yeah, you guys could relate a little bit, a little too much maybe sometimes.
Yeah, that's why we fought a lot.
Yeah, that's so awesome. I never had a sibling like the same age as me. I mean, my brother is 4 years younger than me, so we kind of related, but we also didn't grow up very much together, so I can only imagine what it's like to have somebody there that you can trust and that you can, go through life with, like you said.
Yeah. 4 years is a gap, but having a twin was, I won't tell her this, but she's my best friend. So.
You won't admit it to her?
No.
No? Well, I'm sure that she feels the same way. Does she come to you a lot for advice or anything?
Oh, yeah. I was more of she was the dependent one. I was more independent. So for a lot of things, she always relied on me. So I was the one who, but I was always the one who, would go back to the playground, would walk out first, and she'd be the one trailing me. Or if someone would ask us questions, for the longest time growing up, I always spoke for her. She never spoke directly to someone. I don't know why that was a thing, but and it's kind of just escalated throughout the years. Escalate is the wrong word. It's just continued over the years. I'm still the more independent one, and she's still dependent on me. So she kind of relies on me a lot, but I don't mind it.
Is that scary to you at all?
Sometimes I mind it.
Sometimes. Is that scary to you at all to have someone look at you in such a highlight?
Yes. I worry because we're the same age. She's a girl, so we're the same age. We've gone through all the same things, but it just worries me that she looks to me for guidance when I don't have any more years on her. I don't have any more wisdom.
Yeah.
It's hard to help someone else when I'm still learning at the same time. So it's a little scary.
Absolutely. Well, what else was it like in your family life? Did your family see this too, or?
Yeah, my family did see it a lot. They would get really irritated when I would speak for her, or if they would try to talk to her by herself, she wouldn't say anything most of the time. They didn't like that I was the one who kind of basically did everything for her. They would try to separate us a lot, going through school. After our first year in kindergarten, my grandma made it a point to the principal that we weren't allowed to be in the same classroom anymore, to try to get my sister to stop being so dependent on me. So throughout the rest of our elementary school years and into high school, we weren't in the same classes anymore. But we still saw each other on the playground, and we came from a small town, let me mention that.
Okay.
So coming from a small town, there's not a lot of people in the school, and it was easy to see each other around and know the same people that she was hanging out with. So it was an adjustment at first, but I liked the end of like being away from her and not having to care for someone all the time. I kind of got time for myself.
Yeah.
To like branch out and be my own person.
Create your own identity.
Yeah.
You weren't just a twin to your twin sister, right?
Yeah. It wasn't a package deal anymore. I gotta be like a singular.
Yeah. Well, you had said that your grandma told the principal that you needed to be in separate places. What do you mean your grandma did? Well, why was she the one to go?
I lived with my grandma. She's
Oh, okay.
the one who raised my sister and I.
Okay.
I did not live with my mom or dad growing up. I got to see them a lot, but my grandma was the one who raised us.
How was that like living with your grandparents instead of like your biological parents?
Well, at first it was kind of hard. I was really attached to my mom and dad. I didn't want to be away from either of them, so adjusting to my dad moving away and my mother going off on the path that she did was hard. And it was also hard too because my grandparents divorced at a young age. I was in second grade, so having to adjust from my mom and my dad not being around, because at first they were, and then going from having both grandparents to in the same home to a completely new home with just my grandma was a big change for us as well. And that is partly why I think my sister depended a lot on me, because she didn't really know how to take in all of these changes at once. So yeah, it's kind of hard to talk about a little bit. I didn't think it was going to be hard.
Well, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, living with your grandparent, I actually lived with my grandparent for a little bit too, so I understand where, like, you think about where your parents are, You think about, like, why are they not here when you're small? You're a child, you don't really think about that. So, I guess that kind of comes into the fact too, and then having all that responsibility, that's so great of you to, like, have your sister there, and you never crumbled, obviously. I mean, you talked about how you were the one to always be there for her, and that even your family saw it. And I feel like when there's outsiders that see that, it just shows like a lot of strength. So it's awesome. How was it growing up with like your friends and everything with not having your parents around?
That was a hard part as well, going to school, and everyone would see that my grandma would be leaving my sister and I, because the playground at our school was right where you would get dropped off. That was a fence, and of course everyone's getting dropped off in the same area. We didn't ride the bus, and we'd always get bombarded with questions like, well, where's your mom, or where's your dad? Why aren't your mom and dad ever around? How come you're always with your grandma? And it's kind of hard to explain to someone else who's my age why my parents aren't around, when I don't really even know why my parents aren't around. Like, I didn't fully understand at the time why they weren't. I kind of took it as like, well, maybe they didn't want to be around me, or maybe they didn't love me enough. Like, when you're little, you don't understand everything else going on. You just see you and your mom and dad not being around.
Absolutely.
So that was kind of difficult. I used to get angry or upset when people would ask me. I specifically remember this kid named John who would always ask me why my grandma was at like our parent-teacher conferences or our music events, or when anything was going on. He would always ask me, why is it your grandma? Like, that's weird. And I'm like, yeah, it is weird. Thank you for pointing it out. It's like, it's just uncomfortable.
Definitely, because especially when kids don't understand, and like you said you're from a small town, right?
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure that's a little bit difficult because everyone knows everyone, and once they know, they know.
Yeah. Well, to put into perspective how small my school is, my graduating class was about 50. So
your graduating class was 50?
Yes.
That is insane.
Yeah, everyone knows everyone talks. So I definitely played a part into a lot of things.
So when you were living with your grandma and as a child, did you know where your parents were at all?
I knew where my mother was. I knew where my dad went. I didn't know where exactly he was. We live in a small town, and he went to the valley, like down here in Mesa, Tempe. I'm from Globe, so what I remember was he said he was going off. He graduated high school and he said he was going off to college. Not really sure what happened in all of that time because he didn't graduate till he was 36. But my mother I saw a lot because my grandparents on her side, my dad's mom raised me. My grandparents on my mom's side, I would go visit after school. They were the ones who would pick us up, me and my sister, and I would see her there. But my mother, she just didn't do well for herself. She kind of chose the path of drugs, so that's why I was with my other grandma.
Did you ever have to like be involved with that at all, or were you pretty like safe at your grandma's house?
At my grandma's, my dad's mom, yeah, I was safe. I never saw anything like that over there. It was kind of just like anyone else would grow up, you know. I had like a dinner schedule and homework after dinner and a bedtime, and I was up at we're on a schedule there. But at my mom's, I mean, I did see if like, you know, fights or her and her weird friends, and just was put in uncomfortable situations a lot, like, I don't know, riding around town to these places that I didn't know or these people I didn't know. But other than that, yeah.
Well, that must be hard, but it's great that you had your grandma there to be, you know, to have that structure and to have that growing up. Do you feel like that really affected the way you are now?
Most definitely. I feel because of my grandma, I am where I am because of her. I am who I am because of her. I wouldn't have the morals that I do, or I wouldn't think the way I do. I probably would have ventured down the path my mom did, and maybe would have been more curious and wanted to try drugs if I was around that. But I wasn't. My grandma raised my sister and I to care about school and sports and, you know, care for one another and family, and she just put all of our attention into school and how great it could be and opportunities that could come from it if we did well.
That's awesome.
And so, yeah, like it shaped me into the person that I am. I say I know that for a fact, and it's weird, a lot of people might not agree, but my mom's sister, my aunt, her sons were around all of that. They stayed at at their house, and they grew up and went down the same path she did because they didn't have someone else around who could steer them into the right direction like my grandma did. So I feel like what you grow up around is what you know, and that's what you'll eventually end up doing because it's all you know, it's all you're taught.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree with that. I think because, you know, you got both sides of it. You didn't get just the like sheltered life where you saw only good things and you only had that dinner schedule and you're only told that school was good. Like you said your aunt or your mom's side?
Yeah, my mom's side and my aunt.
You saw the way that they lived, and it was just like a distant kind of thing instead of immediate family all the time. Like you got to see how they lived and the way that you live, and to teach yourself kind of also how to find balance between that. I think that's really important.
That's a good way to put it too. Yeah, it did teach me a lot of things. I did not want to do what they were doing. So seeing that and seeing their repercussions and what happens to you when you're on any type of drug really steered me into the opposite direction. So, yeah.
Do you feel like your sister kind of had the same type of motivation growing up as you when coming to your grandma, or how she raised you guys?
My sister and I, we're different. I definitely think that, yes, my grandma impacted my sister a lot. She hasn't tried drugs. She won't. She never will. It's hard talking about my sister because we're so like...
So different?
Yeah, we're so different.
I get that.
But, I mean, it's hard because I also don't understand sometimes the way she thinks or why she does things. I don't know if I can say that, like, for a fact that's why she is the way she is.
Are you saying you don't know if you can speak for her because you don't really understand her thought process? Is that what you mean?
Yeah. I mean, I know that living with my grandma definitely helped her stay away from all that stuff and seeing it for herself growing up, but we just, in school, we didn't have the same, like, drive. She paid a lot more attention to boys, was a cheerleader. I didn't do that. I paid attention to my academics, and I wanted to get a scholarship and, you know, be successful. I mean, I still had my fun, don't get me wrong. But I wasn't the preppy cheerleader type who wanted boys' attention 24/7.
Yeah.
My sister kind of was.
And do you feel like, you know, going back to how you said not having your parents around made a difference to you, do you feel like it's going to make a difference in your future family's life, the way you were raised?
Yeah. I know that'll make a difference for me, and I can say this for my sister. She just had a son. That we don't want our children to be anywhere around the stuff that we were on my mother's side growing up. Like, the way my grandma had raised us in the home, having, you know, dinners every night, making sure she was there every night if we needed help with homework, picking us up every day from practice, she took us to school every day too. Took us to school every day on time, never made us ride the bus. Like, just always made us know that she was there for anything. And that I know that is what I want to carry on to my children, and I know my sister does too, because she's already trying to do that with my nephew. So that definitely, yeah, she has impacted us a lot, I would say.
That's what I was going to say. Does it feel like that's what an ideal type of home would look like for you?
Yeah. I mean, my grandma was a housewife. She started working when she was 16, but she didn't go, like, really full-time until all of her kids were out of the house. So my dad's the youngest. She had 8. And she started working at the church, and she just made sure there was always food on the table. All the kids were, like, taken care of. Like, speaking from my experience living with her, she always made sure my sister and I, you know, had what we wanted and what we needed. She didn't spoil us and give us whatever. She humbled us. She made sure that we were humble and that we earned what we were given. And, you know, we never left the dinner table without eating everything on our plate, because you don't waste. Like, I want to do that for my kids. I want them to know that what they have is a privilege. It's not, oh, here you go, you just get this because you want it.
Yeah,
you know?
Just because you want it. Well, that's great that you see there's more to life out there than, like, the things that you're handed, and it doesn't always come easy. Like, it's great that your grandma implemented that into your behaviors and your mindset. It's really great. Do you feel like your parents impacted you in any way the way your grandma did by their absence?
Yeah. I mean, growing up, you miss them at first, and then as you get older, it kind of turns to resentment. Like, why weren't you around? Why didn't you want to be around? Did you not? It makes you question yourself a lot too. It makes you wonder, was I not good enough? Do you love me less than what I originally thought? Like you just wonder why they didn't want to be a part of your life as much as they could have been. Like, why did you have this kid if you didn't want them? But as I've gotten older too, I've learned that life throws a lot of more curveballs at you than you expect. And my dad definitely has, but my mom and dad both have impacted me greatly. Not as much as my grandma, but I watched my dad go from a 16-year-old father, he was 16 when my sister and I were born, to now being a man who's holds a degree, is working on his master's, works at Raytheon, creates missiles for the military, he's doing really well for himself, you know. Like, he was still around, which I appreciate. Like, looking back now, I see, okay, he tried his best. He was there for, like, big events, like my sister and I played tennis, so he was there for every tennis, like, not every match, but every state tournament or any, like, important games he was there for. If we ever were awarded anything, he was there. just things like that. He always made it known to like text or call, even though he wasn't physically present. He still kind of was. My mother is sober now. She's been sober for 2 years.
It's good.
So, I mean, her impact might not have been the way my grandma and my dad were. Like, she wasn't always loving. She wasn't always. Drugs took over her life. So
yeah, makes you a different person.
But I watched her and all the mistakes she made, and it has made an impact on me to not do what she's done. And she says that now too. She's like, I just showed you what not to do. And I'm like, that's true. You did. I definitely don't want to do anything you did. But
good job.
Yeah. But she, in her own way, has definitely impacted me as well. And I won't tell her this either. But like, I do love my mom. I'm happy that she still tried a little bit to be around. She really tries now. But I'm grateful I still have both my parents and my grandparents. So
alive and doing well. Well, you said that your dad had this, like, I mean, he was obviously a young father, and everyone knows that's not easy to, be a teenager. And could you imagine having a kid at 16?
No. No.
Yeah, it would be really, really
Especially
difficult.
Twins. I
Yeah.
think about that all the time. Twins at 16? No, thank you.
Yeah, that would be really, really hard to have twins. 2 babies growing up with 2 separate lives and 2 different lives to take care of. But yeah, it sounds like he did really great for himself, though, growing up and getting the degree that he has and the job that he has. And do you have a relationship with your father, like a close relationship?
I mean, we're close, and we still butt heads once in a while because he always. I don't know what I'm doing yet. Like, I have a vision of what I want to do with my life. I'm only 23.
That's what's important.
But my dad didn't graduate until he was 36, and he, like, really he's really adamant that I need to finish college now and make something of myself. And I get a little. This is the only thing we fight about is school, because I want to tell him, well, you didn't graduate until you're 36. I understand where you're coming from. It's out of love.
Yeah.
You want me to do better than what you did, but you understand too that it's hard, like, for people to find themselves and figure out what they want to do with their lives, and all the things that life throw at you. You don't always expect. So that's the only sore spot with us, is him constantly saying, get your ish together. You need to figure out what you're doing.
Well, it kind of makes sense to me that your father wants that for you, because he knows how smart you are. You obviously know the way that things go. You're sitting here telling me that life is hard and that there are repercussions to your actions. There are curveballs that get thrown in your way, and how to handle them. And you said you have a vision, and having a vision is where it starts. So
yeah,
I'm sure what he says to you is because he really wants. He's just anxious to see where you're gonna be, because you're his baby.
That's true. The only reason we fight is just because of the way he says it, or tries to, like, put it into, like, mine or my sister's head. He's very stern. Like, he used to, I don't know what happened to this guy. He used to be very, like, crazy and fun, and now he's just very stern and rigid and about his business, and you need to do this, do it now, or, like, there's no other option.
And you don't know, like, when that change started happening, or?
I mean, it kind of started happening as soon as he was finishing school. I mean, during school, he had to buckle down, and try to get his degree, and when he started to, he's an electrical engineer, so I think when he started doing that, and I don't know, he finally got a serious job, grew up a little bit, and I think it's the stress, and, like, that his job is very difficult.
Yeah.
So that probably weighs a lot on him and shaped him into who he is.
Do you look towards him as like something you want to, do you want to be like that, like serious and about your business, or
No.
do you does he make you frustrated that he sees life like that?
He drives me crazy because he is so, you can't joke with him sometimes, like you can't take a joke. I just don't want to be like that with my kids. I don't want them to think it's only this way, or I'm not gonna, because it's hard. Like, I know my dad loves me, like we have a good relationship, but it's just some days when he's really coming down on my sister and I can't talk today. When he's really coming down on me and my sister, it just feels like if you're not successful, I won't love you. Like,
that's how it makes you feel.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's not true, but it's just
Yeah.
the way he goes about things. It's just kind of like, do you just want something to show off? Do you just want to say, hey, my kids are successful? Like, or do you not, like, are you not gonna love us regardless?
Yeah. Is that the type of thing that you think of whenever he starts giving you those talks and everything, or?
Yeah.
But does he ever say anything to make you feel like validated whenever, because you're not there yet, or your sister's not there yet?
I'll just say things like, I think the reason I feel like that too is because him not being around, like, there's already that feeling from being younger, like, why isn't your dad around? Were you not enough? So
Yeah.
getting older, like, even a little bit of him trying to be stern and be a dad still will feel like, okay, is this when you'll actually love me? But I know he already does. It's just getting over that. He sometimes says things like, he says he loves us.
Well, I
Sometimes
asked.
he says he's proud. I don't know.
He says he's proud sometimes. Well, I asked that because I feel like that you said it. That's where I was trying to get it, is where you said because he wasn't there, that whenever he acts that way, it makes you feel like he doesn't love you as much. Like, but you said you know that he doesn't. But going back to how you grew up and how it changed you and how you became who you are today, like, I feel like, you know, having that absence, in a sense, like, he was there and he assisted you and everything, but yeah, that's where I was going with it. I feel like that has a lot to do with how you become, the people that are around you and who spends time with you.
As I've gotten older, I just try to think that it's not only about me. I have to put myself in someone else's shoes. And when I try to think about life through his shoes, like, he wasn't a dad. He didn't raise kids. So I think he's still trying to navigate and figure out how I'm going to do this, how I'm going to talk to these girls, because he's a man.
Yeah.
And it's just, so I try to be forgiving. And like, he was 16. Yeah.
And he's doing his best now.
He's trying. That's all I could ask for, right?
Exactly.
So.
That's so good. At least you acknowledge that. And I mean, I know you said...
It comes from my grandma.
Very true. She taught you some wise morals. Do you have any expectations for yourself as to, like, you said you came from a small town. Do you have any expectations to grow from?
I just don't ever want to go back to that small town.
Fair.
I want to eventually figure out what I'm doing, get back some motivation. Like, I just want to be successful. I don't want to be a millionaire. Like, I just want to be comfortable and to be happy with the job I've chosen, the career I've chosen for myself. I think that would be successful for me.
That's what success looks like to you?
Yeah, like being comfortable with my money, being able to, if I ever wanted to have a family, be able to afford it and be stable and enjoying going to work every day. That's what I want.
That's awesome. I feel like, it's kind of like the American dream. It's what everybody's hoping for someday. But yeah, I feel like growing up in a small town, like, you don't have very many resources there. I feel like that kind of drives you to want to do better, right? Do you agree?
Yeah, I do agree with that. Being in that small town definitely made me realize that's not what I want to do with my life. don't want to live small-mindedly here. I would like to travel, see the world, see how other people live. Eventually, one day, when I figure my life out.
Well, everything that you've told me, it seems as though the obstacles that you faced and the people that you had around you, like your grandma, really taught you the bigger picture, you know, the bigger picture in life, and how important it is to have at least that motivation. I feel like that, you know, really helped you.
She did. 100% did.
Well, thank you so much for giving me the time to talk to you about this. I know talking about family is tricky sometimes, but thank you so much. Thank you for this opportunity.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad you listened to me ramble for this time.